They told us we were lazy, lost.
Millennials had it bad. Generation Z may have it worse.
We're not walking away. We're running toward the cross.
Revival
toward
has
the
been
call,
breaking out on college
toward the
campuses
kingdom.
across America.
And the ones who believe in Jesus, they never walk alone, and they never sleep, and they never stay silent.
Well, welcome back. Today is episode 5 of Testimony Z, and as you may notice, we are back in the old setting. And today we're here with Jack Mack, a student at Hewitt-Trussell High School in the junior class. And we're excited for this episode. Can't wait for the conversation that's going to be had in this and in his testimony. Your name actually came up when Ryan did his podcast episode.
Really?
And that was like the first episode. And I told him right then, I was like, I need to have Jack Mack out here. So, Jack, I wanted to go ahead and go to you about what's your testimony, man?
So my testimony isn't really something crazy. It's kind of, people think that a testimony has to be something crazy. Like you hear these people get on stage at these like church conferences and they have these wild things that happen to them as kids and just these overall just crazy experiences they had. But I was always raised in church. I've always had two parents that always kind of pointed me in the right direction that guided me spiritually. And I was always plugged in. I didn't really know what it meant to be a Christian up until I was probably about 8 to 10 years old, in that kind of range. I was baptized about 8 years old. But I got baptized a second time when I was 12 years old. Because that's when I realized what it really meant to be a Christian. I explained it as when I got baptized the first time, I was kind of just saving my spot. You know what I mean? That was my moment that I had where I could just be like, I'm making this commitment to you. I might not know what it means yet, but when I do, I'll be here. And that's what happened at 12 years old. They talked about, they call it Baptism Sunday. I go to Faith Community Fellowship. And when they talk about it, I was like, I need to do this. It's time. I understood what it meant to be a Christian and what it meant to walk with God on a day-to-day basis. And I was like, I'm ready to make this commitment. I'm ready to be somebody that can go out and people can see Jesus through me. Now, like I said, I was always growing up in church, and I think that the best testimony you could have is one where you've always known the Lord. Because it doesn't need to be something crazy that you have that happened in your life, and some super traumatic experience that you had, but it can also be the fact that you grew up in this situation, you grew up knowing the Lord. But that allows you to also bring people with you in a way. Because, I mean, you know so much when you're continually plugged in. I know there's times in your life where times get hard and you kind of drift away and you kind of fall away from the fact that, well, I mean, it's easy to get caught up in, like we said this morning at FCA, that life gets busy. And you have all this, say you have sports, and you have homework, you have photography and videos that after school. It's just, things pile up so quickly that when you lay down in bed and you think, I forgot to read my Bible today. And then sometimes it's hard to realize at 10 o'clock at night that I got to read my Bible. And it's easy to get out of a routine. I mean, the hardest part's making one, but maintaining it, once you fall out of that and you realize 2 days go by and you're like, I'm not in my Bible. Well, let's do it tomorrow. 3 days go by. And all of a sudden, all those days that you stacked up building that routine just tumbled. And I think that happened a lot, and that happens to people. I mean, it's not an uncommon thing. But the past 2 years, I've been trying to do a lot better. Ninth grade, high school year, I mean, it's kind of, I started drifting away. I could feel myself. I mean, then we go to new church conferences, and you get on that spiritual
High.
It. Exactly, spiritual high. And then you're in it. And then I came to realize, I was like, I need to stop making this a moment. I need to stop keeping this consistent for a month. I need to get in there, stay in it, and stay locked in. And so I think finding people that build you up and kind of just like kept you accountable with just the things that you do, the things that you say, and like what's on your mind. Because I mean, what you fill your mind with is what kind of flows out of you, so to speak. And we talked about this morning too. If you're having a bad day and somebody comes and pushes your buttons or rage baits you, then what you say or what you put in your heart is what's going to come out. You might not be thinking it, but you're in that headspace where you're just in a bad mood, and what you're thinking or what you fill your heart with is what comes out. And so I feel like that's where my testimony kind of lies, is just staying with the Lord. I mean, I've always been with him, but there's always times where you drift away, and that's kind of just what I struggled with the most. But,
And I love how you said getting out of the moment, of how you didn't want it to just be a moment. I feel like nowadays in the culture we live in, it has been turned into a moment. It has been turned into a trend, a fashion trend. It's been turned into all these horrible things.
Mhm.
And it's crazy how God can take some of the worst things and turn them into great things. But Satan can also take some good things and turn them into bad things. We see it with so much in the world. Social media, such a great tool that we have. I mean, I was talking about before this, just the fact that we have the tool to be able to reach hundreds and thousands of people at the click of a button is insane. And yet, what did Satan do with that? He brought out pornography. He brought out social media. He brought out doom scrolling. He brought attention spans down to about 6 seconds compared to 90 seconds. I mean, it's crazy how many people I've actually talked to that I'm like, hey, do you watch shows? Have you watched shows or movies? And they're like, I can't really get into them.
Yeah.
And their attention span's so dead.
Mhm.
But it's been turned into a moment. It's been turned into the spiritual high that you get at camps. I love camps to death. I love fun camps, getting up and jumping, all this. But I wish that the camps and the churches promote more of what the life actually is. How you talked about how that's kind of my testimony, is continuing to live it. And at the start, how you also said that I was ready to live it. I was ready to actually go out and show others. And I think that's important, that it's not just a private faith. It's not just something where you go in your bed at night, you close your door, you read your Bible, and you pray, and then the next morning when you open your door, you turn into a completely different person just to fit in with the world around you. I went down a path like that at the start of my life. Even though I knew God, I still went down that path, and it led me down a horrible route that ultimately, thankfully, led to me getting saved and actually coming to not just know God, but to know God. Because I think there's a difference between knowing him and knowing him. And there's a huge difference between that.
Yeah.
But I loved how you said the moment and just trying to get out of that moment, that spiritual high.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we talk about, like, there's a difference between knowing God and knowing God. It's because I hear this thing all the time. It comes across, I'm a victim of doom scrolling. I do it. I mean, I finish my homework at night.
I do it, man. Or I do it too, but my For You pages are full of
Oh, yeah.
like Christian gospel content. And I think that's another thing too. Like, I don't think doom scrolling to an extent is a bad thing until it affects your social skills. Like we were talking about before this episode about like how this podcast is intended to show people that conversations can get sparked from anything.
Yeah.
And that you can still nowadays have conversations with people and spread the gospel through testimonies and through anything. And I feel like like you said, you feel like a lot of people nowadays just think that they can't have conversations anymore. Like they get nervous and they're like, oh, this isn't just for me. I'm just not a social person. No, it can be trained.
Yeah.
Being social can be trained, and it's so important. But when doom scrolling becomes the thing where you're at the dinner table and you're just scrolling like this, that's when it's bad, when it's affecting your social skills, and when what you're consuming is bad. Instagram's horrible about that.
Oh, yeah.
I always tell people, I'm like, if you download Instagram, like, and you're new to it, don't go to the Explore tab. Find someone older, find someone wiser to go on that Explore tab and click not interested on a lot of crap and clear it out for you, because Instagram will automatically put some horrible stuff on there. And when your feeds are controlled with that, and like we talked about, what you consume is how you're going to respond to the world. And it's so important. But yeah, man.
Yeah, my little brother got Instagram like a week and a half ago.
I'd clean it out.
I know. Yeah. But I mean, it's so weird though, because I mean, like, we think about, like, just like a couple of years ago, we were like, we were young, we were freshmen, and now we're graduating high school next year.
Shoot, yeah, I talked about that this morning at FCA too. It's crazy. It hit me in the truck a while back of like, we're going to be the seniors next year.
Yeah.
Like, there's going to be
And
no more
after
upper
that, there's
class.
no more high school.
Yeah, exactly.
It's either the workforce or you're going to college.
Life
Or the
hits.
military.
Yeah.
But, no, yeah. But, I mean, like, another big part of it was just, like, we talked about the moment, like, feeling, like, knowing God. It's just, I see a lot, well, we're coming back to, like, stories, it's just, like, even demons believe in God, I mean, everybody, they believe he's there, we believe he's there, but the difference is, like, the relationship we have. Because, I mean, it's like a relationship with your physical father. I mean, if you're seeing your dad like twice a week, then you're not going to know him very well. It's going to be pretty awkward when you see him at family dinners or whatever. You're sitting there for an hour and a half. But I think staying consistent is the hardest thing to do. I think that's why doom scrolling is such a problem for people. It's because the devil can distract you from just like say the simple things in life, like you're doing homework, and I'm a victim of like when I'm studying for 2 hours. I think it's about Instagram for about an hour and a half and studying for 30 minutes. Yeah, that's about what it is.
And the studying is staring at the
It's
chemistry
staring at
for
the
10
question,
minutes.
just one. Yeah, and then you just ChatGPT. But, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, I think this world is so good at distracting you that we talked about earlier. Is just when you think about when you get in bed at night and you're like, I didn't read my Bible today. It's so easy to do that, and that's intentional. I mean, it's not just like perchance that everything's so conveniently lined up to where you don't have any time. And the time you do have, you're doing schoolwork, or you're doing sports, or you're doing something else. But it's just hard to stay consistent, really. I mean, like you said, just like the world puts into us now is just ridiculous. I mean, everywhere you go, you see things that are just. I mean, if you just think about the Ten Commandments, you don't have to like look around. Like, I mean, in the Bible, there's structures to things, and you have the Ten Commandments in the center with Jesus. But around that, you also have certain just like rules of like right and wrong. Like, even if you just look at those Ten Commandments and you look around, like if we walked out those doors and we went to Taco Bell, I'm guarantee you we're gonna see some things that are just, or we just look at our phones. Like, there's gonna be something that breaks those, and it's just like we're so not. It's so constant that we don't even notice it anymore. And so like when it happens, we're kind of just like, man. And so the world is just so good at like distracting us from what really matters. It's just
you become numb to it. I mean, I think if you took someone back from early 1900s, late 1800s, and you brought them nowadays and legit just sent them into a high school hallway, girls got leggings, girls got crop tops, or you send them out into games or something, and they got Nike Pro shorts on. Like, people would be shocked. Yeah. But we've become so. I mean, I saw a video not too long ago of, I think there was this girl, and her dad was videoing because they were walking. It was another country. Can't remember what country. It wasn't a third world country, but it was close. I guess second world. I guess whatever you would call that. Yeah. And they were walking through the street. All she had on was shorts, like shorts and an oversized T-shirt. And that was it. It wasn't anything too crazy. But all these, they looked Indian, so it's probably somewhere in East Asia or somewhere in that area.
Somewhere over there.
Yeah, and they were standing around these little vendors on the sides, and they're kind of catcalling, like making comments. And it's kind of like if she wore something like that in America,
it's normal. Yeah,
you would think like, okay, that's pretty minimal, that's normal.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, you're in this second world country, this third world country, and to them, it's crazy. Like, you got guys catcalling to that. Like, that's how desensitized we've become to it, because there's this guy that was talking about social media too, how he first started in social media. He remembers the first video that got 1,000 views. Well, now his videos get like millions of views, and he's talking about how desensitized he's become to that. Yeah. Like, when you first start out and you get 1,000 views, you're like, wow,
this is awesome.
Yeah, you're like, this is crazy. I'm going to go famous. I'm going to retire my family. Well, then you get 10,000, and then that 1,000 doesn't feel like a lot. Like, that's what's happening to our world. We've gotten so desensitized to a lot of these things. But I will say, what I love about this generation is I think there's three things. One, this generation's hungry for the truth. We've been lied to for so long in the past, in America as it is, and this generation's hungry for the truth. Two, this generation is going through so much crap right now. Like how you're talking about, we could go to Taco Bell right now, we could go on social media, and something that we're going to see on there is going to be evil in some way. Yeah. That's because it's all around us. But because of that, we're growing up in a generation where, back in the 1900s, you go to, it's expected you go to church. If you don't go to church, you're looked at weird. Nowadays, it's kind of the opposite. You go to church nowadays, you try to spread your faith publicly at school or at events, you're looked at as weird or oppressive or fascist. Yeah. It's like this generation is going through so much oppression, so much persecution. Yeah. That I believe this generation is going to come out so much stronger than the past. And you already see it the third thing too. You see modesty coming back into this generation. Like you see guys going to church, not wearing booty shorts that are like up tight on their thighs and all that, or wearing all these compressions, or wearing tank tops like at church. Like that's insane wearing a tank top at church. I think it's insane wearing a tank top. Yeah. In general, I think it's a little pointless if you're gonna wear a cross necklace and then go off and wear a tank top in front of a place where there's gonna be church stuff going on. Yeah. And then you got girls now that are starting to wear, jeans. They're starting to wear shirts that
Yeah.
actually, and I'm not in any way, I don't want to sound like one of those guys that's like, oh, you need to dress a certain way, but it's like, I'm not ever going to tell you how to dress, but like if I see a woman who dressed modestly like that, I'm telling you right now, you want a God-fearing man, you dress modestly like that, and you be the person that you want to attract, then
Oh yeah.
you're going to find a good person.
Oh yeah.
And I definitely think this generation, though, is starting to come out of it.
For sure. Well, I mean, also we're blessed to live in the Bible Belt. Really. I mean, everywhere around here you can't go about a mile without seeing a church.
Oh, yeah.
And which is great. It's great. But no, I think something we overlook a lot though is like the way we speak. We're so desensitized to the things we say, and then it's just because it's normal.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I mean, like I said, like when you get angry, like the world around you, like you speak what you're feeling, and so like when like you said, we're desensitized. Like we hear all these words around us, and we hear like everybody say these things. It's like when we get mad, those things may slip out because first off, we spend hopefully 8 hours of sleep. We spend the other 8 in school, and then that's 16. So we're spending 8 hours awake, and then you have 2 hours to 10 hours between school and sports, and that leaves you an extra 2 hours in the day. Well, I guarantee that 2 hours you're doing homework or something, and then so you're not in your Bible, so you're not in your Bible at all, but you're in the world for 14 hours a day, in your Bible for none. And so that's 14 hours of the world just poured into you, just like, oh, this, that, all these like things we say. It's so subconscious too, because I mean, like you'll walk in the hallway and you'll hear things, and you're just like, you don't even notice, you don't even care. And it's just like the way our brains are wired. It's just, man, it's just crazy.
Yeah. I definitely, once I started, I would say sophomore year, was once things kind of changed in my life. And I remember one of the first things that I kind of told myself, like, I want to get better at is to stop cussing. And I made it like a set, like I'm going to stop cussing.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember once I kind of made that in my mind, and I was reading my Bible every night, praying every night, something happened that had never happened before in the last 3 or 4 years. You know, like you're cussing like a sailor around people like that in middle school because that's what's normal. That's what's accepted. Like everyone talks like that. But I remember for the first time ever, if I would say a cuss word like at breakfast, it was like instant conviction. Like I would, in the back of my mind, I was like, oh shoot, like what did I just say? Like you kind of look around, I was like, did anyone hear that? Like did I say it quiet enough? Like you know, it slips out.
Yeah.
But that's why I always tell people like conviction is the most important thing. When you're trying to, I love how you talked about and continuing to stay consistent in your faith, because I think that's a perfect description for sanctification. Like it never ends. There's constantly something that you can better in your life. There's constantly something that, I guess the word that I always like to use is to strive for perfection, because you know you're never going to be perfect.
True.
But if you strive for perfection, you'll never stop getting better, never stop improving yourself. And that's the process of sanctification. But conviction is an important part of that process. I've talked about that so many times in this podcast, of once you feel conviction for something, it's only a matter of time. Once you lose that conviction, that's when things get dangerous.
Yeah.
That's when you start, you know, hardening your heart to a sin, which is something, and it can go down a very dark path if you don't catch it. But absolutely.
For sure. Yeah, what we talked about, just like hardening your heart for sins and everything, it's just, I think that the process of conviction is like, it's such a strong thing though too. Because, I mean, what I was worried about was, throughout high school, I've always been really involved in my church. I've always, like, throughout my whole life, I've always been really involved. And the past couple of years, we've started something called our 5-6 ministry. And we had, he's actually the youth pastor here now. His name is J-Rob. Jonathan Robertson.
Oh,
He is awesome. But he was our old youth pastor at Faith Community Fellowship. And he came up to me and he was like, hey, we're starting a ministry for our 5th and 6th graders. I was about a sophomore in high school at this point. I was probably a sophomore, freshman, sophomore, probably this, like, I think it was kind of summer. And I was like, sure, why not? I had no clue what I was getting myself into. I showed up there, and there was probably about, first of all, I didn't realize how many kids were just, like, stuck in the main, like, you know, because, I mean, when you're coming out of the kids' ministry, and you're about, you know, that middle school area, there's nowhere for you to go. So you go from the, like, we call it the zone, there's a little kids' church, and you go straight to with the adults. Now, let's be honest, if you're a 5th or 6th grader, and you're coming from playing games, and then having, like, then a message after that, and playing games after, and then you go into big church with the grown adults, you're getting a little bored. And so all these kids come to 5-6 with us. Well, and they're just, I was like, wow. And he handed me a microphone. He was like, all right, time to do games and all this. And I was like, oh, okay, all right. And so I get up there, and all these kids are just so excited. Like, kids right now, you talked about our generation being one that's just like gonna grow out of all these things. I think us now and the generation below us are going to be world changers. Because I mean, like the things that we're becoming aware of as like teenagers now, we're pouring into these kids and like making them aware of at such young ages. Like, I was in youth last night, and there's these kids in front of me who were from 5-6. It is so weird to see, because like all these little kids that came up to this out of the kids' church that I was teaching and ministering to for like two and a half, 3 years. Just like now they're up here with me in the youth moments is, and they are on fire. Like I was sitting there with my friend, and some kid bumps me. I look over, there's probably a group about like these 9 little kids. They're just jumping as high as they can. Like one of them lost their shoes. Like they were on fire, and it was so cool to see. But it's just like us being able to pour into them is the most amazing thing, I feel like. Because I mean, really though, because talk about my testimony, I've always had people that poured into me that always kind of like strengthened my foundation. I built my foundation upon like the word, but also you can have a strong foundation, but you have to maintain it. And so I had these people these spiritual leaders and my parents that would always pour into me and like always keep my foundation sturdy and just kind of keep it right. And so like as I grew, I kind of was able to tell right from wrong. It was just, I was spiritually, I feel like I knew where I was. I knew who I was with, in my faith. And it's just at such a young age, being somebody. This is why I think the testimony is so great of just being in church your whole life. Because I mean, I didn't have any crazy events, but it allows me to take all this that I had and all this experience I have in my faith and pour it into these kids that I can be that for somebody else. I can be somebody else's spiritual mentor, like for these kids, and it's just awesome.
Yeah. And I don't think it's a boring testimony at all. Like I said, this podcast, the whole point of it, Testimony Z, is that every testimony can spark a conversation. Because the truth is, yeah, you may have grown up in church. You may have had people like feeding into you your entire life, and it may not have been some crazy climactic moment. But the truth is, how long have you been? You said 12, so you're 16, 17 now?
Yeah, 17.
So the last 5 years has been a journey and a process, and I'm sure the amount of stories that are within those 5 years of that journey and process are countless. And that can speak volumes to a lot of people, because there's not a single person who has a relationship with God that doesn't go through trials, doesn't go through something that teaches them valuable lessons.
Absolutely.
I mean, I went through one at the start of January. I've been through many, but the most important thing is to learn from them.
Yeah.
Not make the same mistakes you do before, to grow from them, sanctification, and to not make those same decisions. Like Caleb said at FCA this morning, one word to describe the Christian faith is response. It's like it's just a response to our surroundings and what's around us, and response is so important. How are you going to respond to what someone says to you? How are you going to respond to what the world feeds at you? How are you going to respond to the trial that gets put in your life?
Absolutely.
Are you going to buckle down? Or are you going to say, man, God's just, like, I think he's just saying that this path just isn't for me, I'm going to stop. Like, if I believed like that with this media stuff, we wouldn't be sitting here right now. That camera would be on eBay. It'd be in some other dude's hand somewhere.
Yeah.
Because there are so many times where I've thought, man, I shouldn't be doing this. But yet here we are. Because there's going to be trials in your life. There's going to be hard times that are going to come. But how are you going to respond to it? You don't give up. No matter what, you never give up. And I think that's a valuable lesson with anything in life, whether it be sin, whether it be success, whether it be a job, a hobby, just to not give up on anything. And I think that's something that the younger generation and our generation, I wish, learned more.
Oh, yeah.
Because I feel like we have so much getting fed at us that a lot of people don't know what to believe. That's what I'm talking about. Like, this generation's hungry for the truth because we don't know what to believe.
Yeah.
It's like every controversial video that shows them on social media, it's like for every one of those, there's about 10 or 20 different opinions or ideas about what happened, conspiracy theories, all this, and it's all getting thrown at us at one time. It's like, what are we supposed to believe? Like, all we want is the truth.
Yeah.
And what better truth than what God did for us?
Exactly.
It's like, if you can have that one truth that you can count on, and no other truths matter in life.
Yeah.
If you have that. And I think that is just such a peaceful thing. It's a peace that you can't describe to anyone else.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about like the foundation that like was laid for me personally. It's like the Bible talks about you build your foundation on a solid rock instead of on a pillar of sand. Because, I mean, you build your foundation on the rock, and then it's sturdy. Storms can come, because storms will come as we talk about challenges and, like, sanctification and all this. Challenges will come, and it's not a matter of, like, if they do, it's when they do. And, I mean, there's always going to be, like, harder storms than others, and there's always going to be harder times than others. But if you build your house on a pillar of sand, well, the first couple waves may be okay. But as soon as one big one comes, the whole thing comes tumbling down. Which I feel like, well, we talk about getting out of the moment. That's what it is. If you stay in that moment of that spiritual high, we call it, then once these little small challenges come along, it's like, okay, that wasn't that bad. Well, then all of a sudden, here comes the whale, and then next thing you know, you get busy again. You fall out of your routine, and it's just all goes downhill from there.
The devil loves to distract you. That's one thing I heard. He loves to distract you when things are getting busy in your life, when things are getting stressful and issues come up. There's nothing more that he loves than to just make you curl up in a ball and just quit. And I love how the firm foundation. I always love that analogy. And one way that I described it to a small group one time was, you can build your house on a firm foundation, and it doesn't mean that a tornado won't come and tear those studs up out of it and tear that house down, but that concrete foundation's still going to be there.
Oh, yeah.
You can still rebuild that house and put it back up. And I think a lot of people, I love the analogy of that moment. Because that's something that I've touched on, I believe, before, one time in this episode, or in an episode.
Yeah.
Because it happens so much. Because we have, and it's not bad on the churches, but we just have churches that promote the moment more than sometimes they would promote the life.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't a trend. It's not just a necklace that you wear, or you get baptized one time, and then that's it. My God is not your aesthetic. That's the word, aesthetic.
There we go.
My God is not your aesthetic. It's a lifestyle.
Yep.
I think a lot of people nowadays like to turn it to the aesthetic.
Yeah.
The cross necklaces, the faith over fear shirts, the merch, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And they like to disregard the lifestyle. Yeah. I think that's what a lot of churches.
The lifestyle's hard.
Yeah, the lifestyle is hard, 100%. It's not going to be rainbows and ponies, and I wish people understood that.
Yeah.
But it's what you get out of the struggles that means the most. What you learn, the way that I always look at it when there's trial in my life or there's something tough that I'm dealing with, even if it causes me to stumble or fall into a sin, I still look at it as like, okay, I'm going to come out of this stronger than I was before. I've learned more from this now, and I'm going to grow from it.
Yeah.
But like you see the aesthetic over the lifestyle where a lot of people, I saw this video one time of Bryce Crawford getting up on a stage at this church event.
Yeah.
And he walks out on the stage, and I'm talking the crowd just goes crazy, like ballistic. And
hey, Bryce is a dog.
Oh, yeah, he's a dog, and they're screaming all this, and you could just tell Bryce looks so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because he's realized that he has become more of an idol, that these people care more about him being there to speak than they do about the message. Because I'm going to tell you right now, there's a youth pastor in some random state that could get up and give the same message that Bryce Crawford could.
Absolutely.
But, and I actually responded to a comment on TikTok earlier today, because it was a video talking about finding, I wish all men were like Bryce Crawford. I wish all men were like this. And I kind of commented, I was like, there are things that only God and Maddie know about Bryce Crawford's struggles.
Yeah.
Like 100%. There are struggles that he only tells God and Maddie that no one else knows about. And to set your expectations on a public image of a famous or a popular person, that's not going to be realistic. Because then you're going to meet a guy who could be great in their faith, great in their walk with Jesus, and then you find out, they struggle with this.
Yeah.
Well, Bryce Crawford doesn't struggle with that. Okay, yeah, he does. He might just not struggle with it publicly.
True.
And so setting expectations on a public image is, I think a lot of people idolize that. And I love Bryce Crawford to death, man. And there's such this controversy coming around with this energy drink that he came out with. Where people are like, I can't believe he came out with the energy drink and I'm like, dude, it has maybe 100 milligrams of caffeine. It barely has any caffeine.
I don't think it's caffeine. I think people are trying to be talking about how he's using his public image of Christ to sell something.
And it's like,
if the guy's famous, he can't help it.
I think people are over spiritualizing
a
lot of things in the world nowadays.
Which is also hard to be. It's hard to be somebody like that, a spiritual influencer. Because we talked about before we started the episode, just things, how we would do things to get to a certain point in our lives. Well, maybe he's always wanted to start a brand like that, or we always want to start a company. But the fact that God has given him this gift of like this public speech that he can utilize to bring people to the Lord, people are taking that and trying to twist it into the fact that, hey, well, now all of a sudden, maybe he's wanted to do this since he was like 12 years old. Well, now, since he's already famous, let's use his current standing on social media and shove that in place of him trying to meet his own goals.
Yeah.
And then I think, which is also why it's hard to be a spiritual leader now, too, because you're always being watched.
You're always going to be under scrutiny. We talked about that this morning. You're always going to be watched.
Absolutely.
And I think that can be a good thing and also be a bad thing.
Yeah.
I think it can be a good thing. And I actually recently had a moment like this where thankfully I didn't let it turn into a bad thing.
Yeah.
It can be a good thing in the sense of like, hey, people are watching me. I need to watch how I act.
Oh, yeah.
I need to not go around cussing like a sailor. I need to not go around laughing at crude jokes and all this stuff. But it could also turn into, hey, everyone sees me as such this great guy. And then you fall into a sin or you struggle with something and you're like, oh, I don't want to tell. I don't want people to know what I'm going through.
Yeah.
And it puts you in this isolation where you isolate yourself from your friends, from spiritual leaders in your life, and ultimately you're going to isolate yourself from God, whether you realize it or not.
Yeah.
And I realized at the start of January when things kind of got tough in my life, I was starting to isolate myself from friends. Friends were like, oh man, I heard what happened. I'm sorry about that. Like if there's anything I can do, let me know. And I'm like, oh no, man, I'm good. Give it a week and we'll be over this.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the case.
Mhm.
But I isolated myself from friends, and I isolated myself from God for a little bit too, until ultimately I realized, thankfully, I was to a point where I could realize that, hey, I'm struggling this with myself, and I don't know how I can film a podcast. I don't know how I can get up at a high school revival event and speak, or at an FCA event and speak, and everyone just thinks that I got this figured out because I don't.
Oh, yeah.
And so I immediately, like the next day, I think it was a Wednesday or Sunday, I went to Carson Zedner,
Yeah.
who I believe I've had on this podcast before, or maybe that's Barry. I need to have Carson on here.
Okay.
But I went up to him and I was like, man, dude, we were kind of talking and it came up and I was like, yeah, man, like, dude, it's been dark these past few
Yeah.
weeks and I'm struggling. And something about telling him just took a weight off the shoulders of like, now there's
Absolutely.
another human being out in the world that knows what I'm doing, that I'm not some guy that's got stuff figured out. I'm
Yeah.
a high school kid that's still learning a lot and that still has a lot more to learn
Mhm.
through hard life lessons. And I'm never going to have it all figured out.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people nowadays can turn it into the bad, where they don't want people to see them as this bad image. Like I was talking about Bryce, I'm sure there's things in private that he talks to Maddie, that only Maddie
Absolutely.
or God know about. But that's not saying that he's doing it bad. That's just saying that, hey, there are some things that you need to keep between you and one other person, you
Oh, yeah.
and two other people, and that's it. It doesn't mean that you need to get out on some stage in front of a bunch of
Yeah.
people and be like, well, guys, I want to talk about this, but first I struggle with this. I just want to let all
Yeah.
y'all know I struggle. Like, no, you ain't got to do that.
Mhm.
It's one of those things where, hey, I just want to know that there's someone else in this world that knows what I'm dealing with and what I'm struggling with, and that I'm not doing it by myself. Because if
Yeah.
you try to deal with it by yourself, that's what I did before I met God, and it led me to God. And I
Yeah.
think once you know it leads you to God, it had to have led you to a dark spot if it led you to God.
Yeah.
Ultimately, in the end.
Yeah. But I mean, when we talked about like spiritual leaders, I mean, everybody, there's one thing that I've learned. I'm big on like taking little lessons and turning them into big things. And use them when I think about big decisions. And so like when you go to youth camps, we talked about this a second ago. When you first get there, it's about 10, 15 minutes before the whole thing starts. Everybody's out front playing games to each other, whatever. Everybody looks like a regular person to you. You don't know anything about them. You don't know what's going on in their lives. But then you get day one, day two, and then you get these, they say, you get in your groups, or find a group of people, and then talk about things. And everybody gets so spiritually open, or just mentally open, that they start telling you things, and then you realize that not all, y'all are dealing with the same things. And I've learned that we're not as individual as we thought with the things that we go through. I've learned that even when you're going through something, I guarantee you, somebody you've talked to today is going through something similar. And so I feel like as we think of spiritual leaders as these people that are supposed to be up here or whatever, is they minister to us. Well, we also have to remember they're people too. And so we can't be so quick to criticize what they say or what things they do by mistake, because we mess up all the time. Everybody falls short of the glory of God. So the Bible says it's true every single day. And so we can't be so quick to judge these people that are putting themselves out there because that's what God called them to do. They're listening to the calling that God put on their lives. And so I feel like we're so quick to judge that it makes it so much harder to be. I mean, the Bible says you'll face persecution in His name, and it's just. I mean, I probably butchered the scripture on there, but that's the gist of it. And it's just so hard to be a leader these days with that, especially when you have a public image like Bryce. I mean, his energy drink. I mean, he is. What's the word I'm thinking of? He is a crap. Goes out, spreads the gospel to everybody on the street. Evangelist.
Yeah.
He was an evangelist, and then people started recording it, and then all of a sudden he started going viral. And then he starts posting on his page, and then it starts growing, and he gets this big platform talking about the Lord. And he's stayed really centered on that. He hasn't, I mean, from what I've seen, he hasn't gone, said anything that wasn't from the Bible. He doesn't, talk politically. He's for the Bible. He speaks the word. I mean, I'm sure there's things that, people don't criticize me here, but I mean, I haven't seen anything like that. And so I feel like him, launching his energy drink brand, I don't think there's a problem with that. It's not like I haven't seen much about it or heard much about it, but I don't think we should be so quick to judge him on the fact that he's doing that, to be like, hey, you're using your public image of God to sell energy drinks. I don't think that's the case. I think that's something he wanted to do. But I think we're just so quick to judge people that, well, especially spiritual leaders that are supposed to be these perfect people. There are no perfect people. There is Jesus, and He died on the cross, and people still persecuted Him. And so, I don't know, we live in a world that crucified a perfect man.
Yeah.
That's really the gist of it. And I talked about the ministry help of the church, and how you talked about you can't go around cussing like a sailor and doing all these, saying these, you gotta guard your mouth, and you gotta guard what you take in.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you started up FCA at our school this year, you didn't start it up, but you took it on. You were like, we're gonna keep this thing going, and that's a big deal, because you put yourself on a pedestal. You put yourself on not like that, but you put yourself in a place where people are going to look at you and associate you with FCA, and so in a way that kind of puts a target on people's backs. I mean, every time we step up on stage and we talk about stuff, or we preach at FCA, or I step on stage in 5-6, people are watching you. And anything you do that's wrong, somebody's going to say something about it. And it makes it hard to be, try and be not a spiritual leader, but somebody who ministers to others.
Yeah.
Because somebody's always watching, and somebody's always going to have something to say.
I think it's hard too, being a spiritual leader, of sometimes it is hard to not get up on stage. And I remember there's this one story that I still to this day remember, and I don't think I've told it up on stage before, but it was definitely there's been some very impactful moments in my faith, and this was one of them. It was this night, because it's hard to get up on stage sometimes and to not just want to go on a rant of man, it's easy for spiritual leaders, or especially I'm going to say this as a young spiritual leader, as someone who's not as mature. Mm-hmm. Obviously I may seem a little more mature, but obviously I'm not. Yeah. I'm not to that level. I still have immaturity, and it is sometimes hard to get up on stage and look out in that crowd, and you see 20 faces that you saw posted on Instagram last night at a party or a rager, and you're like, it'd be easy to go up on that stage and do those backhanded, there's just people that they just get drunk and blackout drunk at these parties and all that. You do these backhanded slaps. As a spiritual leader, you have a role. You have a responsibility to love everyone equally. Mm-hmm. When we do that high school revival event, one of my main points that I want to try to really stress to these people is that the gift that Jesus paid means that Adolf Hitler could be standing right there, and I could be standing right here, mm-hmm. and we could both go to heaven. Yeah. And if that doesn't change your view of, that person goes and gets drunk I should not like that person, I should hate that. No. Hatred, evil is only going to be fed by hatred. It's going to be destroyed by love. As a spiritual leader, we have a role to love everyone equally, to be reminded of the price that Jesus paid, and that that's for everyone. And I loved how you said we are so quick to judge. Because we are. As human beings, we're so quick to judge, and we're so quick to rationalize as well. And I know you mentioned FCA. I didn't start FCA; it was a club. True. But last year, it was pretty crazy how I got pulled into it. It was by complete chance that I just happened to walk by one of their leader meetings, and it kind of poked my head in. I was like, "Hey, FCA hasn't been meeting the last 2 weeks. Are y'all still going?" And we've been having some leadership meetings these past few weeks. And I was like, "Okay." And I went to go walk out, and I can't remember what her was. And hope she doesn't watch this and realize I forgot her name, because she was a very impactful senior last year in FCA.
Yeah.
But she was like, oh, no, we want you to stay. We want you to be a part of this next year.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So I just sat down in this meeting, and throughout that year, man, I noticed how small FCA it was at the school.
Yeah.
How, like, it was like almost just the leaders there every Thursday. Like, that was
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Maybe there was 5, 10 people in that room. And I just remember thinking, like, man, I could tell in the seniors' eyes that it hurt them. Like, it hurt that FCA wasn't, making impact. And I remember I made a promise to Parker and Gavin at the end of the year. I told them, I was like, I'm going to take over next year, and I promise you we're going to grow FCA.
Yeah. Actually, Parker messaged me like a couple weeks ago.
Really?
About FCA. Yeah. He was asking me how I was doing. I said, yeah, we had about, 30, I think we had about 35 some people come up at maybe more than that.
Yeah. I mean, there's been times where the whole front 2 rows have been filled up, and then like half, or not half, maybe a third of the back row has been filled up. And I think that's
It's
great.
growing. But also, I mean, our class is so like tight knit, like as juniors. It's just like, well, also I feel like a big mistake people make in their faith is that they're just like, hey, come to church on Wednesday or come to church on Sunday. It's just like, okay. Nobody, like, they invite these people, but you need a relationship with these people. I mean, that's like, say your birthday's coming around, you're just like, hey, you want to come to a birthday party? To somebody you haven't talked to in like 6 years. It's like, well, odds are of them coming. It's pretty slim. I mean, come on now. So I mean, like, you have to have a relationship with people. You can't just slide by with just saying, hey, you should come, and just like leave them to their own devices.
Yeah. God made us for connection.
Really?
He
Yeah.
made us for connection with Him, and He made us for connection with others.
Exactly.
And friendships are so important. I will say, when I first started out, I always say the word journey. I like to describe it as journey, because it is a journey.
Yeah.
It is a
Yeah.
constant journey where you're sailing, and God's steering your boat, and you're rowing. It's a constant journey, so I always use that word. But when I first started out, I remember there was a time, a couple months in, where I kind of prayed to God. I was like, God, I want you to take away every friend that I have, and I want you to kind of teach me to be happy with just me and you. And He did. He did
That's
just
good.
that.
Yeah.
I lost a lot of friends. Well, then I got into media stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember it was crazy, because I started doing the social media stuff. And at that point, like over summer
It
at
took
work,
off. I mean,
I don't know if I'd say took off.
hey,
but
it was cool. I mean, hey, I saw your stuff for the first time at a pep rally. It was sick. I liked it a lot. It was
so it's
cool.
got, back then, man, you improve constantly. Looking back at those old videos, I was like, God, how did people like this?
Hey.
But anyway, literally every summer, I remember I would go to work, and I would work all day, like 6 in the morning, and it would be like 7:30 at night. And Munoz at the time had actually changed their hours to where they were open past 8. And so I would go there sometimes after work, or La Cazuela, to everyone in Trussville knows Munoz and La Cazuela.
Oh yeah, La Cazuela.
They know all the Mexican places.
Hey, every Sunday.
La
You
Cazuela,
can find me in La Cazuela.
Oh yeah, La Cazuela, this is going to be a controversial topic. La Cazuela's food is better, Munoz's vibe and environment is better.
Sure. Let's go with that. We'll go with that.
All right. And I would go there by myself. And I'd be all just filthy. And I would go there, and I would sit at a table. They almost always put me on the balcony, which I kind of liked.
Yeah.
I liked being in the fresh air and all that. And I would sit there by myself a lot, every single week.
Yeah.
And at first it was hard to not pull your phone out and go doom scrolling. And then you get used to it. And then you get used to being by yourself. And then you can actually be happy by yourself. And it was then that I started finding the media stuff. Sophomore year, sophomore year started. I started doing the media stuff a lot. And yeah, I guess it kind of took off. Like, I had football kids walking by me in the halls. They're like, oh, what's up, former Flicks? I didn't know who they were. And I'd kind of go, oh, what's up? And then this happened more and more. And I think what happened was I found who I was.
Yeah.
I found exactly who I was. I was a child of God. I was happy and content with myself, and I found a purpose. I found something I was good at, and I strived after it. And people love that. Like, this generation is starving for the truth. When you see someone who doesn't fake who they are in different rooms, you love that.
Oh, yeah.
And I realized, and then I started actually gaining more friends. And I
Yeah.
started gaining more real friends, people that are there for you.
Real friends.
These little small
You need 'em.
groups, like people that I would meet at church. I started talking to you more.
Yeah.
I started talking to Ryan and Henry and Drew. Like,
Yeah.
all these kids that I believe Drew.
Dude, we used to be close though. Like really.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
And then I
it's crazy.
split off, man, middle school.
I think we
It was
all
a
did.
rough-
Because
oh,
we
yeah.
played football together too for a while, and then
You're just trying to find yourself, man. So many people are trying to find themselves. And I think the fact that there's few people that find themselves in high school.
true.
It's very rare. And that's why I always I talked to Lane about that when we were on a camping trip. I told him, I was like, yeah, man, but like, how can I expect other people in high school to have certain things figured out in their life? Like, it's not
Yeah.
normal.
Well, that's the devil intends it.
It's a
I mean, we talk about how the devil intends it.
yeah.
I mean, we talk about like all the distractions we have in our world. I mean, like, it's hard to find yourself when you're seeing 20 different ways to live your life.
Exactly.
And so, I mean, when you have that foundation we talked about and you build yourself upon it, well, hard times are going to come, like we said, and sometimes you're going to lose a panel or two off your windows. But, I mean, as long as you have that foundation, I mean, you can know who you are in Christ. I mean, all these things can happen around you, but I mean, the one thing that stays consistent for centuries is the book,
Yeah.
is
It's
the
the Word.
Bible. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And finding your identity. That's why finding your identity in Christ is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Finding your worth, like understanding your worth and your value is so important. That's another thing that I think has plagued this generation and this world as itself. And, you know, I don't see this so much with guys as I do with girls, but guys have the same thing, just it's a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, we're told, oh, men don't cry. You know, men don't
Yeah.
show their emotions. Men don't ask for help. Men don't do all this. We're told that, but I'm going to be honest, we're told that by an older generation that didn't have social media. We don't know what they did. I bet you if there was
Yeah.
TikTok and social media back then, all these kind of videos would be online of dumb stuff they did, but we don't know. So they can kind of say whatever they want.
True.
And so they kind of go with this tough mindset because, man, dude, that generation, World War II, Vietnam,
Mm-hmm.
the Gulf.
I mean, some of them I find, like, how far away is, what was the gap between World War I and World War II? It was like, what, 50 years, wasn't it?
I want to say World War I ended around 1918, and then World War II, it's
Like
relative. In the U.S., World War II started in 1941. So you're looking at around 30.
So some might have fought in both.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And it's
Yeah.
just that generation, arguably, yeah, you know, men don't
They grew up
show
both.
their
I mean, because
emotions,
you
men
have
don't
you had
cry.
World War One, what, Great Depression. World War One was the
World War
Depression
I,
was
Great
after,
Depression,
yeah.
and then World War II.
So they had all these things back to back. I mean, that was kind of what it was.
Yeah.
I mean,
But men get told that they don't cry, you don't
Yeah.
show your emotions and all this. Well, I'm going to tell you right now with a relationship, if you don't know how to communicate your emotions,
Mhm.
it's not going to go well.
yeah.
And with women, you see the lack of value and the lack of worth. You see women going around that don't know their worth, they don't know their value, and they let themselves get treated like crap. And then a guy could come around and treat them right, and they don't know how to react.
Yeah.
And so they put themselves in this situation of like, oh, well, I deserve to be treated horribly. And you don't. Like, if you're a woman, God made you way more complicated than he made men. He spent a lot more time perfecting you. He just stuck some clay together for us. But then women came around and he's like, you know, I'm going to actually take my time on this. I'm going to make it beautiful and then perfect. Or not perfect, but he spent a lot of time. And he definitely made them very valuable and very, very worth. And I think that has been lost in our world nowadays.
Yeah.
And you see social media videos of the perfect physique, the perfect body, the perfect relationship. Oh, you need to put on this makeup. You need to have a guy that's got a six-pack and just looks ripped all the time. And he takes, like, that's not realistic.
Yeah.
You should care about your identity in Christ and what you're worth with him. And that is priceless.
Oh yeah. But I mean, like, as your relationship develops with God, He's gonna shape you into the person He wants you to be. That's kind of why we have experiences in our lives that's kind of correlates with other people's, but we also have our own individual ones too. And I feel like, as you said, I like your analogy of the journey. And you're in a sailboat. God's the wind. You're just sailing it, or you're trying to. He's gonna course you in the way that He wants you to go. But I mean, He might turn you into a storm. He might want you going through that because it's going to shape you into the person that He wants you to be. You don't know it yet. I mean, you can be going through the hardest time in your life, and I mean, that's normal. That's why we do have hard times. It's because we find God through the challenges. Like, our faith develops through the hard times and struggles that we go through. And I think that's what makes us the same, but also different. That's, I think, also why we have such similar challenges is so that the people we do talk to, because I mean, I found people that I never would have thought would, like, so over the summer I was working construction, and then this guy that I thought was he was just like, he looked mean, like he looked scary. He was about 6'4", probably about maybe 200 lean, and he looked like he's been, you could tell, some people have that look like they've just been through a lot, and they've come out the other side. He goes to my church. And it's just and then at one point he prayed for me, and then this guy, it caught me so off guard. He's just the things he knew and his spiritual maturity through that, I was it almost scared me. I was like, because I had no clue that he was just so in touch. Like he had so much like compassion through like his relationship with the Lord. Like you can tell that he'd been through a lot in his life, and he was a godly man. He was mentally disciplined. He was a strong like leader, I would say. But he also, like, in the moments that you needed it, he was also just compassionate. He was caring. He knew the things to say. Like, when he was praying for me, I was just like, wow, this is the same guy that I used to work with. And it's crazy. So I think just the challenges you go through, like, on your own, it's just like the similar challenges with other people, they're also there to help you steer the boat. You can't just, anybody's ever tried sailing before, you can't do it by yourself. At least not a sailboat. You gotta have at least 2 or 3 guys with you. Yeah. And I mean, you gotta have somebody there pulling the sails. I mean, it's crazy. But I think people in your life are put there either for seasons or forever. And some people have similar experiences, so they can help you out and they can help steer that boat. And other people are there to show you that you might not need that extra person. And God's always got a funny way of kind of just piecing things together that you can't see.
Exactly, and until hindsight.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll see things in hindsight. You'll never, most of the time, you're not going to know God's plan for you when it's happening. And that's why I actually kind of love the tough times, or the times when it feels like everything's falling apart, or like I have no idea what's going on, because I know that something big's happening.
Yeah.
And that one day you're going to be able to look back on it. You're going to be able to stand in front of a room and tell that story and tell the life lessons you learned from it and how you grew from it, because I bet you there's going to be someone in that crowd who's probably going through the same thing that you went through. And so it's a beautiful way that God works. He's always working.
Absolutely.
Constantly.
No, we talked about leaders and like people that see you as like that you don't know. I mean, that's also why it's also good. We talk about a man of God who's also like someone who's not physically or mentally like, I don't want to say soft, but like they're a strong-willed like person. But they're also able to open up and share like the love of Christ with you. It was just like what shocked me so much. But like when they do that, people look up to you as an older person or as a spiritual mentor. They look up to you. And when you talk about these challenges that you're going through, it completely changed your mindset. Because like when you realize that this person is a person too, and they might be where they are now, but the only reason they got there is because they overcame what you're going through. And so it's just like seeing them on the other side of what you're going through is just like really inspiring. It's also just like that little push of motivation, that you need.
Oh yeah, I remember that with Barrett. We did a small group. I want to say it was middle school. Yeah, I think it was middle school. He did a little small group with a couple other guys. And I remember we would meet at the church, and there was this one day we were talking about pornography. And I remember he was talking about his life, like getting out of it.
Yeah. And
how he had been clean for that point. I remember struggling with it at that point and looking at him like he was Superman. Like, man, like you made it out of this. Like you turned to God and you changed your life and you became free of this. And I remember looking at him like he was Superman. Yeah. And it was like knowing that there's people, like I had a conversation with someone one time, and I can't remember where it led to this, but I asked him, I was like, because he had never been exposed to pornography. Bless, that's amazing. And we were asking her, like, well, would you rather have never been exposed to it or been exposed to it and gotten through it? Because I don't know what I would do. Like, if a 12-year-old kid came up to me that I was really close with, and he's like, hey, man, I struggle with pornography, I would much rather be able to help him and be like, hey, man, like, I've struggled with that too. Yeah. Like, here's what I did. I want to help you. I want to guide you through this, rather than not ever experiencing that and not knowing what he's going through. Because, man, pornography is a battle in here. It's not like most of those other addictions with alcohol and then cussing or drugs and all that. Like, it is in your head. And it is something that plagues our generation and the men in our generation. I believe it's like 90% of men. I don't know if that's just teenagers, but 90% of teenagers or men struggle with pornography. Like, it's a big thing. Yeah. And it's just, so many people are quick to judge nowadays. Yeah. And it leads them to this point of isolation of, well, shoot, I judge this person for that. I don't want them to know that I deal with that too. Mm-hmm. And so people put themselves in these isolated positions, and it's going to lead to you isolating yourself from God. And I love how this podcast has kind of leaned into the journey, like the lifestyle of how this is probably one of the first episodes where we've been jumping back on topics like left and right. Like, it hasn't stayed on one thing. It's been, sanctification. It's been the journey. It's been sin and judgment, and I love that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, we also like we're the same age, and we live the same. We go to the same school. We live in the same bubble, so to speak. And so like we kind of have like these shared experiences where we're able to jump back and forth from these things, and we see the things in like the world around us where we're just like, yeah, and we're able to just like jump from these topics because I mean they're real topics and they're real problems. And we both have our own looks on things because we've been through on different sides of things too. I mean, it's just, yeah. I think that's kind of a point to that too. I feel like with this podcast too, because like people are going to see that need to, and people are going to hear things that they need to hear, and I think that's just the great thing about this.
I think the number of this about FCA too. I mean, I think the numbers don't matter.
No.
I think it says as long as there's one person in that room that message spoke to. Like we started doing small groups now, and I love it. I love getting in a group with the guys.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, and the
Oh yeah, I'm
girls
just
getting
hearing
in a
everybody talking and everything. Like,
Yeah.
I remember sitting in a small group, and then the girls like up there were just cracking up. But it's just great to like see everybody finding their people, like being able to have like a godly like group of individuals that you can talk to, like
Exactly.
when you're going through hard times, is priceless.
Oh yeah, community and fellowship, having friends that
Absolutely.
are there for you,
Yeah.
and being that friend
It's
too. Like,
relationship,
I'm gonna be
yeah.
honest. If you want to find godly good friends, you need to be the godly good friend to other people, and that's not always easy.
No.
Sometimes it's not, man.
No.
Sometimes you are tired, you got a headache. I'm gonna be honest today, man. I don't know why. My knees have been killing me all day. I got growing pains, my legs are killing me, I got a
It's because you
headache.
run like 6 miles a day.
My head's killing me, I got this headache and all this, and I'm like, I'm sitting here working on my laptop. I'm like, man, how will I schedule it today? We gotta do it. And it's that thing of like,
Yeah.
life's not always gonna be great.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that the
And
other
maybe
day.
that's the devil trying to distract you. Maybe somebody's
Exactly.
gonna hear this that needs it, and it's just. Oh,
But,
really?
and there could be a time too where a friend texts you. I had a buddy text me not too long ago who's kind of new to his faith, and he texted me. He was like, "Hey man, could you write me like a prayer for anxiety and like all this kind of stuff?" And I texted back and I was like, "I'm not gonna write you a prayer, but here's how you can kind of shape your prayer." Because I told him I was like, "If I write you a prayer, it defeats the purpose of prayer." We talked about
True.
that at
It's a
FCA this morning.
relationship, yeah.
This little short film, this little analogy that I saw in this video that really struck me and has kind of changed how I've wanted to look at my prayer life. Was, this person pulls out their phone, they got this contact that says God,
Yep.
and they click call, and they call, and they're talking and talking and talking. Yeah, I'm struggling with this. I need help with this. Lord, give me strength. And then they're done talking, hang up. They don't let God respond at all.
Yeah.
And I told them, I was like, Dad, like I can't just write a prayer for you to recite, and you just think that your life's gonna change and go from. That's not how our relationship works.
Yeah.
Like, if you are dating someone and you don't talk to them daily, or at least when you can, and you're able, chances are that relationship's not going to be healthy. It's
Yeah,
not going to
yeah.
go good. And so why do you think your relationship with God's going to be any different?
That's good. That's a strong analogy. And I heard that and I was like, that is great. But really though, I mean, people need to hear that. And I mean, like, it's hard to do yourselves too, because I mean, like we talked about, inconsistency. It's just like once you get in that rhythm, it's just like, okay, well, I'm going to do 30 minutes prayer or read a chapter, and then I'm going to go to bed. Or I'm going to go finish this math homework that I've been putting off for 3 days. And so it's just, yeah, no, that's strong. That's good. That's a big problem that we have.
Was there anything else you want to add before we kind of close out here?
I think we covered just about everything.
We did
Literally.
jump all around.
We did, but there's strong topics though.
I appreciate you coming out, though. Seriously.
Absolutely.
It's an awesome opportunity. I'm glad we're able to get it filmed and get this edited and put out there to the people. But I'm super grateful. I actually was thinking about that today. Today was episode 5.
Yeah.
And I was telling Henry, I was like, dude, it's crazy. Like, when I started this podcast, I honestly thought, like, it was going to die off after a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't going to be able to find people to bring on, or it's this thing with life. When you think about things too much, you scare yourself out of a lot.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm talking about wanting a road trip this summer. I bet you 100% I'm going to graduate from high school. I'm going to go to Camp Ocoee, obviously, do these camps at the start of summer. And then I'm going to be sitting in my room and be like, man, I'm going to go to Colorado Springs. And then all these thoughts come into your mind. Ooh, what if my truck breaks down? What if I run out of money? That's a lot of gas. I actually calculated it'll be $800 in gas. Not just, that's like all the places I want to go. So that's not bad.
No, it could be
That's
worse.
not-
It could be
yeah,
worse.
Could be worse. But I'm more worried about my truck breaking down. But anyway,
Yeah.
all these fears come into your head of like, what if it's not all the hype that I expect it to be? Just go do it.
Yeah.
It goes with anything in life, with your faith. Getting up on stage and speaking. You're going to be nervous. Your heart's going to beat out of
Oh,
your
yeah.
chest. Just go do it. When
Oh,
you're
yeah.
evangelizing to someone, your heart's definitely going to be beating out of your chest. That never goes away. That fear never goes away. but you have courage through it. That's why the Bible never says have bravery. It says have courage. Because bravery is when there's no fear.
Yeah.
You look brave. Courage is when there's fear and yet you still have bravery and you still go and do it.
That's strong.
I got smoked for getting that wrong one time. This PJ guy asked, he's like, what's the difference between bravery and courage? I think I said something about, like, bravery is in the face of danger, courage isn't it? And he's like, he's like, bull crap. And he, like, shot us all out on the deck, and we're just doing push-ups, cranking them out. And he asked the question again. He's like, no one else answers. He's like, Fulmer, you're going to answer. And I'm like,
I'll get back to you on that.
Eventually I was like, I can't remember what I said. It was something close enough.
Yeah.
And he went over it with us. He's like, yeah, he's like, courage is when you have fear and you still choose to do something. He's like, there's a couple people in that class that actually quit before the training even started because they got scared.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't know if I can do this. And they talk themselves out of it. And you can't do that with your faith, man.
I've always been told it's all mental.
Oh,
I remember
it's
like
all
middle school football, like summer practices, like you remember like we had like the rotational drills like around the field. My mouth was fat back. That was like really big. So I was like, it was hard for me. I used to go, I was dreading it.
It's hard for you, man. I didn't know any football positions, and I accidentally ended up in O-line and D-line.
That's because
in
you
middle
thought we were like linebackers or something.
I
And you were
actually
like-
did. I did. You know what I thought when they were standing us all in that huddle and they were talking about like different positions. They got this little clipboard. They're like, all right, 6s over there, 2s over there, wide receivers over there, and but they didn't even say wide receivers. They said the numbers.
Yeah.
So I didn't hear any of the cool positions, and it got down to like I'm talking. It was all the big old dudes, the linemen in this circle, and then there's just me, and he was like, all right, O-line. And I see like half the circle leave, or like 3/4 of the circle leave, and I'm like, shoot, like, I'm looking around, I was like,
I guess I'm with them.
I guess I'm with them. And dude, I got rocked every day at practice. They put me up, Coach Gillespie put me up against Jeffrey Barnes one time, man.
Whoa.
I remember doing those little drills, and this little number 65, this bone and skin, about 135 pound, 125 pound lineman up against Jeffrey Barnes, the biggest dude in our grade.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I got murdered.
Oh,
And
dude.
so, but yeah,
I remember like they used to call like linebackers Mack and Will. And so I always thought they meant me and Will Miller every time. And it was bad. And I was like, I was in like 6th grade. I was dumb. And so they said Mac. I would always go running over there. And then I get there in about 5 minutes and they're like, hey, Tubby, I think your group's over there.
But it's all, I love how you said, like, it is all about, it's all mental. It's all about showing up. Because chances are, once you show up and you're there, you do it. Like with the gym.
Yeah.
There's days where you do not want to go to the gym, but you just show up.
Exactly.
Once you're there, you do the workout. There is not a single morning that goes by where I wake up for a run and I'm pumped to go run. Not a single, not a single day I just
I
want
mean, it
to
was
lay
probably
my
fun
head.
like the first day, like to get that spark
It
of
wasn't even-
motivation or something.
Yeah, it wasn't even fun the first day. I haven't had a single morning where I've woken up before school and I'm like, man, I'm so pumped to go out and run. Not a single day.
That's because it's been like -2 degrees the past like 2
I'm on a
months.
treadmill, dude. You think I'm going outside in that right now?
All right, never mind.
I did at the
All right.
start, and then I kind of realized that, hey, my dad spent a couple $1,000s on a treadmill. Why don't I use that?
I just like,
But dude,
I mean, it's warm in here.
running on a treadmill is arguably worse.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, oh my gosh, it's a nightmare running on a treadmill.
Yeah.
Because you're just, I gotta take a rag and put a rag over the screen of it so that I can't see the mileage, I can't see the laps.
Yeah.
Because if I see that, if I just glance at it, because you'll be running and you're like, man, I feel like I've ran 2 miles. You look down and it's like,
0.7.
yeah, it's like 0.7. It's like you just hit a mile, or you're like running. My watch will vibrate every single mile, and you're running and you're going like you kind of get zoned out and you forget that your watch is on run mode. And you're like, man, I gotta be at like 2 miles, and then about a little while later it buzzes and you hear it in your headphones. Lap 1 complete, and you're like, it's like 1 lap is 1 mile, and you're like, dude, I just got to 1 mile. Treadmill sucks, but it
I mean, you're
goes
not
to
going
show-
anywhere either. You're just
exactly.
like staying there.
You don't have that momentum, but it just goes to show showing up's important. Like,
Yeah.
I wake up and I feel like crap, but once my feet hit that treadmill and you start running, you're awake, and it's fine. You can get through it, and you can finish it, and that's what life is. Just
Exactly.
showing up is the most important thing in life.
Of course.
If you can show up, man, you're going to be light years ahead of everyone else.
Exactly.
And I think this generation needs to understand that a little more.
Oh, yeah.
Just show up. Be there for
Absolutely.
your friends. Be there for people even when you don't feel like
Yeah,
it.
be there for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Be there for yourself. But yeah, man, I love this episode, this podcast, and I'm so grateful. I got to have you on here finally. Took 5 episodes
It did
to
take a
get
couple
you here.
episodes. Hey, no, it was great to be here. It was great. Yeah, it's awesome talking.
Absolutely, man. Well, I want to pray us out, and then we'll get you out of here. You gotta somewhere you gotta be. Lord, I just want to thank you for bringing us here again this afternoon to have this conversation, Lord, that we were able to jump from